right. So, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm
Doing
good.
pretty
You
well.
guys, good, good. You guys are in Nashville, right?
Yes, we are.
Were you guys
Where are
both
you at?
born and raised? I'm in New York.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice. New York City or just New York State?
I'm on Long Island, so like close
Long
to the
Island.
city. Long Island. So not as cool as being in the city, but about like an hour away.
That's not too
Close
bad.
enough.
Yeah, exactly. Were you guys both born and raised in Nashville?
Pretty much. Yeah. I was born in a really small town outside of Jackson, Tennessee, and then we moved up here when I was pretty young. So started playing music after I moved up here, and I basically just say I'm from Nashville. We moved up here when I was in elementary school, so I'm grown up here.
Okay.
I'm born and raised here,
Very
but we
cool.
we've known each other since we were what, like 11, Parker, something like that.
Yeah.
We kind of grew up in neighboring suburbs of Nashville.
Oh wow. How'd you guys meet?
Ooh,
Met
music
at a
camps.
music camp. Yep.
Yeah,
Oh. So you guys go way back.
way
back.
back. Yeah.
Very cool. While I'm on the topic of Nashville, so I've never been, but I've always wanted to go. I'm a huge Jack White fan, and Third Man Records is there. Have you guys been before?
Of course.
Yeah.
Jack
Really?
White's always around. He actually still goes to shows, which is cool. Like Nashville has a lot of legacy artists or like artists that are pretty large, and it's cool to still see him at shows. A lot of them don't really go out, but he's still pretty active in the community, which is really cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
And Third Man is a cool spot too. They have a venue there that hosts shows. It's not just like a Willy Wonka like fantasy factory thing. Like yeah, it's kind of like it's almost, I can't even describe it. He's got so much going on. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It used to be just like a little storefront, and like now he owns what, United Record Pressing, Parker?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he owns like most of the record pressing machines in the world now, which is very interesting. So he controls like a lot more than I think most people realize.
Oh wow. Yeah, I feel like he just does it all. Like he's
He
just
does everything.
constantly
Yeah, he
doing new
does.
shit.
Yeah.
So you guys met years and years ago, music camp. So have you both been playing music since how old? Like when did you guys both start?
I started out on drums. So I think I started playing drums. I like got a drum kit for Christmas, the Christmas before I met Cole. So I was probably playing right when I turned 11, until I met him when I was also 11. And I was terrible till I was probably
I don't
13
remember
or
you being
14, but then,
terrible.
well, I started realizing that I was going to have to practice a lot more than I was.
Well, you had a lot more like natural talent than I did. Parker, a lot of people don't realize, but Parker is good at almost every goddamn instrument. Like fucking unbelievable bass player, unbelievable drummer. He's good at everything.
Like you
But
just pick it up and get it. Like it just comes naturally. Yeah.
Yeah. My story, I think, is a little younger than that. I think my grandma went to a gas station when I was like 8, and there was a guitar behind the counter, and she said, "How much for the guitar?" And he said $10. So she got it and then gave it to me.
$10. What a steal. Wow.
What a steal, right? Apparently some guy just came in asking for $10 in gas for the guitar. So that was my guitar for like a year and a half, and I was terrible too, but we practiced a lot. And I would say like middle school was like my practicing time. I think you too, right, Parker? It's like, my technical ability was probably the best when I was like 14.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I definitely haven't gotten one lick better since I was like 14 or 15.
Straight up. I think like there's like a switch that happens, and that happened for me, and I think Parker too, where it's like you come to the realization that nobody gives a shit about being another Joe Satriani or being like a virtuoso. Like nobody really cares how many notes you can play. It's just like what you have to say or the feeling that you can create. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. He stopped finger tapping in my basement and started just wanting to write songs, which is interesting.
Yeah, because I was going to say, so when did you guys come together and realize you wanted to start the Criticals? Like, and do something together? Like, were you guys on the same page?
So can you hear that playing at all? Or is it
No.
not too bad?
No.
Okay, good.
No, it's not bad at all. It's just crazy.
It seems really loud to me, so I was like, I probably hold on a second. So I started the Criticals in like late 2017, just kind of as a solo project, and then 2018, actually in January of 2018, I kind of was getting bored of it being a solo project and wanted somebody else kind of in there with me as a partner just to write with, and just kind of help with the visuals and like really create a thing. And so Cole played his first show with us in January at this little place called the Mouth Hole in North Nashville that I don't even think is there anymore, but it was
I've heard glimpses of it being there.
Yeah. It was like straight out of a fucking 90s movie, like basement house venue. Back when there were still a ton of house venues in Nashville. That was like the bread and butter for the scene for us growing up. It was like we didn't play in venues, or we barely played in venues. It was like, I feel like most of the time we played in actual venues, like on stages, was when we were doing like, summer camp shit, or like something that was outside of, the actual bands throwing shows, because those were always in smoky, nasty houses. So that's how we kind of grew up. And
a lot of the venues here are 21 up. That was probably the reason too. It's like a lot of the venues are 21 up, and they're very, like, Nashville is very, very, very serious about carding.
Really?
Because we have Broadway here, and there's so much sting operations, and like, it's just like, and drinks are so expensive here because you have so many tourists. So it's like,
here too.
Okay, we got a
crazy.
Yeah, you got a show, and it's like nobody wants to pay $15 for a tequila soda. Nobody wants to pay $8 for a domestic beer. So, like, the scene was really just somebody would have a house with a big basement room or a garage, and somebody would bring in a PA, and everybody would have a 40 in their hand and just have fun, which was really fucking cool. But then there was like a fire in Oakland. I can't remember, Parker. Do you remember?
It was some big, do you remember this? It was some big, like probably 3.5 years ago. There was some huge like event space warehouse thing where they always had a bunch of art collectives and parties and bands and stuff in California, and it burned down somehow.
Oh
It was like 10 people died or something like that.
Yeah,
it was like,
and it was because there was like some artists living in there, I think. And yeah, so that got rid of all of the house venues in Nashville, and they still haven't.
It was pretty
come back
quick. It was quick too. It was like there was the Glass Menage, there was Meal Ticket, there was Dad's Garage, there was Mouth Hole, and then among just like all of our friends who had spaces to play shows. And there were shows happening in these houses sometimes 3-4 times a week. And all of a sudden, fire marshals got wind. I don't even know how they found out about them because it was so underground. And then the fire marshal would show up and be like, "You can't do this anymore at all."
Wow. Oh
So but we kind of hit that on a good point, because I think we were turning like 21 around that time. So, and then most of our friends were turning that too. So it was like kind of a seamless transition into venues, which was nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Do you feel like when you guys got together and started writing together, getting ready to play shows and venues, were you guys on the same page in terms of like the type of sound you were going for?
I don't think that there was ever
fairly, for the most part. I think Cole and I, like, we've just always, a huge part of our friendship is just, and our relationship with music with each other is just listening to different records with each other and like showing each other new artists that we found and all that that's kind of always been such a big part of our connection. So it's like that just kind of went seamlessly into, creating songs and writing and stuff like that.
What's interesting,
so it never felt like separated at all or anything.
But it also, I don't feel like we were ever like, we're going to do this thing right now and we're going to try to do this thing. I think like it's interesting because I listen to a lot of house music, but do I make house music? No. I think like what you listen to and what you create are two different things. And like when you get in the room with somebody, I think if you have like a mission, like this is something that's very Nashville. So we see a lot of songwriters or a lot of artists that not necessarily can't succeed, because Nashville is such a hard town to play music in because everybody does it. So a lot of people take this route where it's like, I'm going to write songs, or I'm going to do what's called sync for different artists and try to make a living that way. And in that, you almost end up saying, I'm going to make this vibe, or I'm going to create this song over again.
Mm-hmm.
But I think me and Parker were really conscious of that and never really wanted to create something. I don't think we were ever like, we're going to make a song that sounds like this one Kings of Leon song from the second record, or we're going to make this Interpol sounding song, or we're going to make a song that feels like this Led Zeppelin song. I think we just create, and what happens, if that makes sense. And I know that sounds kind of corny, but I think if you don't come into it with a mission, it becomes less formulaic and more fun and more exciting for me musically. And I know Parker feels the same way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when you're creating with somebody, it's great to have like similar influences, but it's also cool when you have different ones, because then you bring new things to the table and then create something different.
I mean, we write songs a lot that, sometimes we're like, this isn't a critical song, but it still felt good to create it. I don't think that it ever comes in where we're going to write this for the criticals now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So the first video I actually came across from you guys is your live sessions that you guys did with our vinyl. Treat You Better. I saw it and I was like, oh wow, it's like very very Rolling Stones-esque. But then I heard Homebody and I was like, oh, this is very like 2000s, like The Strokes-esque, like that kind of vibe. So I was gonna say, who are some of your like biggest influences? Like, where do you guys pull inspiration from?
I think it all depends on like the time, like, I mean, we obviously pulled a lot of inspiration from, the Strokes and the Kinks and the Kooks, and, a ton of like the Yeah and Yola Tango, a ton of like early kind of New York garage rock stuff from the 2000s. And then I think we started listening to a little more like dancey music. And I know I was listening to a ton of like ESG, and I was listening to some house stuff. And so I kind of wanted to make more simplistic, almost maybe even a little less guitar heavy, but a little more dancey. And I think that's where Treat You Better came in, and like 1952 and songs like that. And so it just all depends. It's honestly something different every single week.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a product of the time period that we live in, because everything is happening all at once. It's like you can be into a band that happened 30 years ago, and you can also be into, an artist that's happening right now. So it's like, I mean, me and Parker wrote last night, and what did we listen to right before? I think we played a Kook song and a Tokyo Police Club song, and then something was born out of that. So it's like, and then sometimes it's a Stone Roses song, or it's a Jane's Addiction, or sometimes it's house music. Sometimes it's, I don't know. It just depends. I think like we've never really been conscious of like wanting to create something at a certain time,
Mm-hmm. It's just whatever felt right in the moment.
Yeah. And then
whatever flowed. Yeah.
And then you can kind of curate from there. It's like you get a big batch of songs and then you say, okay, this makes sense together,
Absolutely. And I think listening to you guys, I was like, oh, these guys are you're very multidimensional, very versatile. You can do all these different things. And then your visuals also for your music videos are amazing. They're beautiful.
Thank you.
Treat You Better was the first music video I saw from you guys. And I was like, oh, it's kind of like disco-y. Like, it was really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very, very lucky to live in a community of people that are in different veins. Like our friend group is very, very diverse, and the types of things that, like, it's not just a collection of musicians. Like they're fantastic photographers and fantastic videographers. Like, to name a few that we have collaborated with almost every project is like Hannah Hall, Neil Shukla, and Daniel Chaney have been probably the biggest collaborators in our visual stuff, which is really, really cool to almost like, because visuals are just as important to us as music at the end of the day. It's like 100%. You have to kind of we're creating kind of a world around the music, and it's cool to continually work with the same people, and kind of, it's like, anything else. It's like a relationship of creativity, which is really cool.
And you can definitely see that because, like I said, I feel like, you know, you guys, you could tell that you pull inspiration from so many different areas and, you know, you just make it your own. So it's really cool, like listening to, you know, all your different songs. And I'm like, oh, you know, this one sounds very this and this one sounds, you know, very different, but they all kind of make sense together. But very cool
Thank
seeing
you.
you guys pull from like all these different inspirations.
Thanks.
So January, you guys are touring. Tell me
Yeah,
about that.
Our first tour, which is really cool. It's interesting, like our timeline, like right when we started really like doing it, the pandemic hit like immediately. So we had this like year of just writing and making videos, which was cool, but it's nice to see the world opening back up again and doing some West Coast dates. And there's a lot that's in the works for 2022, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure it feels good to get back out there and start playing shows again. As you know, everyone is so happy to be back at concerts, listening to live music. Like the first time I saw live music since the pandemic, I was like, oh my God. I was like, I feel so revived.
Yeah, no, so the first show back for us was I think it was the first full capacity show at a venue called the Basement East, which is in our neighborhood here. And very interesting to watch what, you know, people that haven't been butt up against people in a year and a half is like watching people learn how to walk again or learn how to run again. It was really a cool experience, you know, but now it feels back to almost normal to me. I don't know if you feel that, Parker, but
yeah,
it feels like the old days.
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels good kind of just getting back to feeling normal again, for sure. So, you know, you have the infamous question I'm going to be asking you guys. If you can collaborate, any artist, any band, who would it be?
Are you talking about like producer or just like artist?
Artist.
Go for it, Parker.
I might need a second.
I was going to say, take your
I'd
time.
have my answer down by now.
Yeah. It's like the infamous question every interviewer asks, but I have to know.
I would love to do a song with Harry Farrell.
Really?
That would be so fucking cool for me. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
God, so many. I would probably, honestly, I think it'd be awesome to do a song. I really want to tour with Iggy Pop, but I think it'd be cool to do a song with him as well.
I think so too. That'd be so sick.
Wow.
I would love to, you know, it's interesting. Like I would love to do like a song with like a really rebellious rapper too. Like I would say Travis Scott, but like obviously he's under complete fire right now. But like, I don't know. Like somebody like Playboy Cardi would be really interesting too.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Because that's the most like rebellious side of music right now. It's very interesting. Like rock was kind of dead for so long, and now there's like this little like feeling in the world. It's like maybe it's coming back. It might be coming back. Yeah, there's like a revival, but a lot of it to me feels like just revival. It feels like music built on nostalgia. And I think like the music that's the most exciting for me right now, the most like rebellious, is still in hip hop. So I think it would be really cool for us to collaborate with somebody who's just like angry.
Are you a big hip hop fan?
You know, it like we've been talking about, like yes and no. It just depends on the time frame or like the album that you're listening to that week, you know.
Because I like some hip hop, but mostly like old school, like 90s.
Really?
Like, yeah. Very cool. So what do you guys have planned 2022? What's in the works?
Honestly, even after we get done with the tour, we're just going to be trying to play as many shows in as many places as we can. That's what we're frenzying to do right now, because we didn't get to do it at all in the past year and a half. So now that it's finally coming to fruition, it's super, super exciting. And we just like love getting out and playing new stages, meeting new people. Like that's as much fun for us as playing the actual show. You know what I mean? So just like even the thought of that is really exciting, and now it's doable, so that's
Also,
kind of our main focus.
Also, me and Parker, I mean, up until this point, have always self-produced our own music. So,
Wow.
yeah. So, I mean, it's always happened all at once. Like, there's never been like, because I mean, financially, we're an independent band. So there's never been like, okay, we're going to set aside 2 months to make a record or 2 months to make an EP. It's like, no, we have a weekend or we have 5 hours here, 5 hours there. So I think like, honestly, it's just adding the shows back into the equation. It's like just continuing to do what we want to do and write music and record and play shows when we can, I don't know if there's like a specific like timeline of anything right now. We're just kind of doing what we feel and what we want to do.
Absolutely. But I mean, you guys got the tour in January. Maybe eventually make your way over to New York.
I think we are playing in New York.
Yeah, we're it's about 90% done right now.
Oh, wow.
No date confirmed, but I think we have a show in Mercury Lounge early 2022, which is really exciting.
No way. I've had a few friends play there the past month, actually. Amazing venue, obviously.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Very cool. Really exciting stuff coming for you guys in 2022. Very exciting. Everything is, now opening up and everything's happening. But again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I love what you guys are doing, and I wish you all the best. And I'm super excited to see what 2022 brings for you guys.
Yeah. We'll
Awesome.
see you in New York in the early year.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right. Thank you guys.
So much.
Talk to you soon. Bye.